Everybody, Meg Ruler, third one back here for FSI DFS. We have got a very large slate here for Tuesday, the 24th of August. 14 games, no weather concerns, lots of good options. So let's just run through things quickly and get you on your way building your lineups and back to your day. First game, Arizona, Pittsburgh. Madison Bumgarner against JT Brubaker. Madison Bumgarner at 71. He's been decent recently, so I can definitely see him as a cheap option tonight. Brubaker, not too interested in. I think the Arizona bats would make a decent cheap stack. I'm not really interested in Pittsburgh unless they're going to be a leverage stack today. Next game, we have the Tampa Bay Rays against the Philadelphia Phillies. We have Drew Rasmussen and Ranger Suarez. Not super interested in either pitcher here. I think it's 6K. They might get you like 10 DK points. I'm not really super interested in the bats either. The pitchers are okay. Not a great hitting situation. Wind blowing in a little bit. It will be kind of warm there, 87 degrees. So I think if you want to stack either team, that's fine. But I don't know, like Tampa Bay, it loses the DH being at NL Park, so their lineup isn't as strong, and there's a potential that, you know, as these pitchers too, especially like Rasmussen, might get pitch hit for because, you know, he does have to bat, so that takes him out of the equation a little bit. So not super interested in much from that game. If you want to play them in GPP, no problem. Los Angeles Angels and the Baltimore Orioles. You have Dylan Bundy and Spence Watkins. Watkins is probably the worst pitcher on the slate. The only trouble is it's really hard sometimes to stack the Angels. Yes, we like Ohtani. Fletcher hits consistently. Walsh, maybe Marsh, but it's like just finding the right guys is just, even though they have a 5.5 total, I don't love it for cash. I think it's like a GPP thing if you can figure out which guys that you want to put in your stack there. But I think definitely has some upside tonight. It's going to be warm there, wind blown out slightly. Not interested. Well, maybe some of the Baltimore bats if you're looking for a cheap stack. Dylan Bundy has been inconsistent at times too. He is really cheap, so if you want to take a flyer on him, possibly, but probably not interested. I think the Baltimore bats are going to do well against him. So next game, we have a nice pitching duel. We have the Chicago White Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. We have Dylan Cease and Jose Barrios. I think you have right-handed pitchers against lineups that are primarily right-handed. So I can see playing either one of them. I don't know. I think they're more like GPP. I think Barrios would be, I would like more than Cease. I think, you know, Toronto has more upside. They don't strike out as much. They either are, they'd probably ground out before they struck out. Are some strikeouts in the White Sox lineup, but I don't know. It's just such a low total. If you want to take some of them, that's fine. If you want to play some of the bats, it's fine. But I just don't think I'm going this game tonight. There's just 14 game slate. There's a lot better options, a lot better situations. But in GPP, of course, it's always in play. Next up, we have the Texas Rangers and the Cleveland Indians. It's going to be hot in Cleveland also. Really like Cleveland today. Eli Morgan, I think, is a cheap option. You're probably going to play like, you know, you save a little bit more on Bumgarner against Pittsburgh, but you know, Rangers have some strikeouts. They're not really doing good. They have a total below 4. Eli Morgan's not the best pitcher in the world, but he does have some K upside. So I think if you're looking for cheap options, he's in play tonight. I wouldn't say he's a priority. Love the Cleveland bats, though. If you're looking for a cheaper stack besides Ramos and Reyes, the rest of them are 4K or less, like Straw at 2.8 leading off, Ramos at 2.7, Mercado at 2.3. It definitely, if you want to pay up for pitching, that works as a really nice stack. I'm not really interested in Texas pitching or batting tonight. Next, we have the Boston Red Sox and the Minnesota Twins. So Red Sox are still, you know, trying to keep pace with the Yankees and Oakland. I'm not really interested in Griffin Jack here. Tanner Houck, I think he's okay. He had a rough start last time out against the Yankees, but that is the Yankees. I think against this twin lineup, I think he's definitely also in play, probably in the same level. I think I like maybe Eli Morgan a little bit better with the Texas K upside, but I think they're pretty much even and $200 apart. I think, each one could get 15 DK points. So they're definitely, I think, relatively safe options there. So not really interested in any Twins bats. Red Sox absolutely love. I think they're a favorite stack on the slate. They have 6.14 total. Definitely, the lefties here, Deaver, Schwarber, even the righties like Bogarts, Martinez, Verdugo. I wouldn't play Hernandez at 5K. That's way too high. He's more of a lefty specialist, and also Minnesota bullpen's not great, so we might get some lefties there, but I'd rather take my 5 from like 2 through 6 or 7. If Shaw cracks the lineup, he had a grand slam win the game yesterday. He's first base, third base eligible, and he's relatively cheap. I'd like him in the stack also. Next up, San Francisco Giants and New York Mets. Sammy Long, I think is interesting. He's a good young pitcher, but I don't know how far he's going to go. He's just kind of jumping into the rotation until they get a couple of their guys back in. Mets have been struggling a lot, so it does make it a little bit more appealing. But again, he might only get 2 or 3 innings, so I think I'm out there. Taylor, McGill. San Francisco has been good. It is a hitting ballpark. It's going to be warm there. Wind blown out a little bit. So I think he's in play at 6'9", but I think I'd like some of the 7K guys we talked about. Bumgarner, Houck, a Cleveland guy, a little bit better. But if you need to save a couple more dollars, I think, he's also can be in play for a cheap pitcher. I'm really off the Mets bats. They've just been so quiet. San Francisco, I always like. I'll definitely pair them with the Red Sox. They're pricing it on them is so cheap. Besides Brian at 4.9, even Buster Posey's only like 4K now, and they match up so well. Like you can always get like a ton of the lefties and always have like the splits advantage, or the righties, like depending on, they have just so many players that they can rotate in and out. It's a really good situation. Next up, you have Washington and Miami. You have Eric Fedde and Jesus Luardo. Both pitchers struggling. Really not interested in either one. Bats if you want to, but that's really, Washington makes a cheap stack, but besides Soto, and Bell, like there's really, maybe if Zimmerman cracks the lineup, I like him righty against lefty. K-Boom at 2-1 isn't bad for a stack. Robos has some speed, so I think you can cobble together a couple things there. Maybe in a GPP, or if you're looking for some one-offs if you're trying to play a Boston stack to pay off for pitching, some of those plays might work there. Marlins on the other side. I mean, Fedde hasn't been good, but they really don't have too many good. So again, it's a pick 'em game, 4.25 total. Not super interested here. So move on to the next game, which this one's a really good game. You have the New York Yankees and the Atlanta Braves. You have Heaney versus Morton. Morton's been solid this season. The Yankees have a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. We saw Yuna yesterday get some Ks. The Yankees ended up winning the game. But I don't know. They might not win this game because Heaney's been bad. He's on my fave list for pitchers today. So definitely like some Braves here, but also the Yankees are in play too as a contrarian stack against Morton if he's going to have high ownership. So it should be a fun game to watch baseball wise. You've got, the Yankees have won 10 in a row, and the Braves have won. They just lost yesterday, but they had won 9 in a row previously. So it should be a very, very good game to watch. Wind blowing in a little bit, about 90 degrees. So again, fade Heaney. Morton, I think a lot of people are going to play as either the SP1 or SP2 just for the K upside. Bats are always in play for these two teams as stacks. I think the Braves I like definitely more against Morton. They'd be in my cash stacks. The Yankees would be my number one GPP one just with their potential, but against a pitcher that is decent. Next up, we have the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals. Casey Mee is not interested. He's on such a short leash. Hasn't been really good recently, but Jack Flaherty, love him. I think he's going to be my SP1 tonight. Just so consistent, cranking out 20-point games left and right here. Against the Tigers offense, it's starting to decline a little bit. Miggy got his home run, so I think won't be pressing as much. Some strikeouts here, so St. Louis on the other side, I think, they make an affordable stack. I like them, don't love them. I think they're in play tonight, 4.89 total, and they're usually relatively cheaper side. Arenado is 5.3, Goldsmith 4.5, everybody else is like in the 3K range. So it's really nice. Next up, we have Chicago Cubs and the Colorado Rockies. Wind blowing out a little bit here, 6 miles per hour, 82 degrees. Sensitel had a really good night last night against these Cubs. I'm going back to German Marquez. I think he's going to be my SP2. Really like him, 8.2. I think there's lots of Ks in this. I'm not scared about the wind. He's used to pitching in Coors Field. So I think he's got good control. I think he'll get a lot of Ks and have a very solid game here. Justin Steele on the other side, and I'm interested in Colorado Rockies, I think, make another interesting contrarian stack. Their pricing is a little bit higher than I'd like. They're almost priced not quite at Coors, but most of the guys are in like the 4K, upper 4K range. But I wouldn't. You could make a nice righty stack here and go like Joe, Rogers, Story, Cron, and then I really don't like playing Blackman, so I just try to take those four and then like make like a four stack or something with another team, and then maybe punt catcher. I'm not playing Diaz at 4.1 outside of Coors. That's just crazy. Not interested in the Cubs at all against Marquez. I think he's going to dominate them. Next game, we have the Kansas City Royals and the Houston Astros. Houston was a little underwhelming last night. Singer is good against righties, not so good against lefties. So Brantley, Alvarez in a good spot here. We probably throw in some of the other guys too. They are pretty good, patient, professional hitters. So not interested in Singer as pitcher. Luis Garcia is way too high priced. I think he only gets 4 or 5 innings. I mean, he might do very well, but I don't think he's going to be in the game long enough to pay off his 9.7 price tag. Not interested in anything at Kansas City. Next, we have the ultimate pitcher duel of the night. We have Tyler Mahle against Corbin Burns. I think these guys are probably the top 2 of the 3 pitchers, if you throw Flaherty in there, on the slate tonight. Burns against Cincinnati. It's in Milwaukee, not in the Great American Small Park, so there's definitely K upside there. Just hopefully they leave him out there. I know they've been load managing their pitchers there, so hopefully he gets a full game and gets like 5 or 6 innings and doesn't get pulled after 4 or something. Miley on the other side, Milwaukee has struggled. I don't understand the 4.38 total. I think that's like way too high for them. So if you're betting, I would bet the under on Milwaukee tonight. Not interested in any of the bats on either side. I think this is going to be good. But if you did want to do like some leverage stacks, so like Cincinnati definitely makes sense against Corbin Burns, who could be the highest owned pitcher just because he's the most expensive guy there. Then finally, we come to the Los Angeles Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Urias is coming back from the IL, and you also have Darvish. I also see it's Nabil Krismat. So I'm not positive San Diego hasn't released it, but either way, I'm fade on both of them. I think the bats are both something that you would look at in a GPP only, not as a full stack. Although Tatis has really done really well against the Dodgers, no matter who is pitched. So I think he hits at least 1 home run in the series, but when it's going to come, I don't know. The San Diego's been slumping a lot, and they really need to make up some ground on the Dodgers. So this is a very important series. So again, like the Yankees and Braves might be more fun to watch than actually playing DFS. Okay, so let me switch screens here and pull up my quick breakdown for you guys. So pitching wise, like I said, I think Burns is probably going to be everybody's number 1. Flaherty for me is the number 1. He's going to be my favorite, but I don't mind either one. Mahle would be 3rd. El Garcia, I think it's GPP only. He's just, for Houston, he's just good matchup, but just way too expensive. Morton's probably going to be the favorite in the mid-range. Marquez is mine. Barrios and Cisse are also in play there. For cheap guys, Bumgarner, Houck, Morgan, and McGill, like all those guys there. My fades are Heaney, Urias, Darvish, and Meese. For top stacks, Boston would be number 1, Houston would be number 2. Hopefully they bounce back from, but again, like I said, it's mainly lefties. Singer's been okay against righties, but that bullpen's horrible. So hopefully when they get to that, they can put up runs late in the game. Atlanta against Heaney, definitely like them. In St. Louis, definitely rounds off my top stacks of the night. For GPP, like I said, the Yankees are going to be the number one. Cleveland, love them, very cheap, great matchup, 5 total. Load up on the righties there. Colorado against lefty in the Cubs. LA Angels, it would be number 4 there in my GPP stacks if you can figure out which guys to stack on there besides Ohtani and Walsh. Cheap ones, Baltimore, definitely like them. San Francisco, like them. Arizona, like them against Pittsburgh, and Washington has some very cheap pieces also. Leverage stacks, like I said, San Diego and LA Dodgers against 2 good pitchers who are coming back from the IL, but they both have decent bullpens. So those definitely would be low owned late night hammers if you want to throw those in there. Cincinnati, I think, leverage against Burns, and then Pittsburgh against Bumgarner, but they really don't do well against left-handed batting. So that's usually probably the ultimate YOLO play. So let's do a quick DK build, and then I'll get you back out onto your day. Fire up the screen share for you today. There we go. DK is not loading for me. Okay, let me make it full screen. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so as you can see, I started to build here. I think what I'm going to do is, like I said, Flaherty and Marquez are going to be my top pitchers tonight. Riley Adams, I love 2K catchers. There should be 3 or 4 starting. So if he doesn't start, there should be other ones, but he has a split disadvantage against Luzardo. So it's a righty on lefty one there. So like I said, I'm stacking the Red Sox, like Devers, Bogarts, JJ Martinez, Verdugo. I want the lefties. If Shaw is in, I will take him probably over Verdugo. Maybe if JD or Xander get the night off, may bench one of those and it'll help me pay up, but it's not bad. You leaves you 2.75, and there's some Arizona guys that fit in there. There's other good guys in good situations that are cheap. Like I said, Washington, if Zimmer starts, to finish up this lineup. The other option that I'll throw at you quickly before we finish this video and get you back out to figure out what you want to do on this very, very nice big slate for today is if you want to throw Burns in there. Like I said, for catcher, I should have kept Adams there. He's really cheap. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Cleveland here. Like, I love the total. I love the situation against Texas with the righties, and it's going to be Ramirez, Rosario, then Straw, and then your choice is going to be either Ramos at catcher if you don't want to play Riley Adams, or Mercado. And did I pick one too many people? Yeah, Ohtani somehow got in there. That's not going to work. But that looks like 3,700 for the last 2, and that's definitely a nice. You can get some nice players in there with the last 2. If you want to pay up for a catcher, also that's fine. If you want to play the catcher, then it leaves you. If you want to play the catcher from Cleveland over Mercado, so if we get rid of Riley, put in Ramos, get rid of Mercado. So you can see that 3K per player. That's definitely a nice salary for these guys. Find a cheap outfielder, gives you more for first or second, punt second, get a great outfielder in first base. So lots of good options. So appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, leave some comments below. I'm Ruler31. You can reach out to me on Twitter. Give us a like, help us get our video out to other people. Subscribe to our channel so you know our videos drop. And good luck, and we'll see you tomorrow.